Well, hey, Jordan, thanks for hopping on the line with me. We've been working on a little bit of a project together, and I'm excited to share with everyone what we've put together and the journey that we're starting. But I think I kind of got dropped into the middle of a very long process, and I wanted to give our listeners some context as to who you are, kind of your financial journey as you've gone from resident to where you're at now. And then I'd like to show everyone how you created or what you've created. And from there, love to go into how we've managed to translate that into what we do here at My Financial Coach.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Thanks, Enpo. It's definitely been a journey, and I'm excited for this kind of almost like 2.0, like optimization of it. Yeah, so for context, I'm a reconstructive plastic surgeon in Buffalo, New York. I'm in my 6th year of practice. And where the finance piece kind of came in for me was really about 6 or 7 years ago. Like, I was finishing my training, and I essentially, up to that point, I knew nothing about finance. It wasn't an interest of mine, personal finance. I knew I was in a bad financial situation, as most people kind of coming up through medicine are, taking out loans, etc. What kind of flipped the switch for me was I realized that I was burned out at the end of my training. I essentially did not enjoy medicine. I felt spiteful towards it, and I was really struggling. And once I kind of came to terms with that's what's going on, I realized that a lack of financial well-being, which up until that point I didn't even really consider a component of well-being, but that was a huge factor in my burnout. Because yes, I was about to graduate, and everyone was telling me, this is what you've been working towards. But in my head, I was just going like, this is bad. I have $500,000 of student debt. I have credit card debt. I have no savings, no investments. I don't know how to do any of that. I have a young family. Yes, my income is going to increase, but everyone's just telling me how my expenses are going to increase even more. So it seems like I'm never going to get off this hamster wheel. And this is not what I expected at the end of this journey. And so from there, it really was just kind of like initially a DIY effort of my wife and I just learning very basic stuff like, hey, you got to save some of your money. Here's how you can invest in index funds easily. And it slowly kind of grew from that. And the initial journey kind of culminated about a couple months after that realization and that the beginning of that self-education, where we wrote just a very simple written financial plan of like, this is what we're going to save, this is what we're going to invest in, this is our asset allocation, etc. And also within that, determining for the first time ever what our net worth was, which was very, very bad at the start, like negative $520,000. But that also was enlightening in that it kind of showed me a blueprint of how we can work to make it better, like increase assets, decrease liabilities, just very basic stuff. And now 6 years later, that's kind of evolved to where we are not at financial freedom, but working on our way towards it. And that's kind of Enpo, where you and I crossed paths a few years ago in this journey, and just kind of talking about like, how do doctors find themselves in this situation? What can they do to improve things? And now where we've been working together, where, I think you're going to show by net worth calculations, or where I've kind of the hub of my, financial journey. It's kind of the spreadsheet. And now we've sort of evolved to working it together on this more advanced software. And so, yeah, that's kind of the journey in a nutshell.
Well, let's actually zoom in on this journey because when I looked at this, and don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of spreadsheets in my clients' day, or as I'm working with my clients, and I have to say that this has taken some time, it has taken some thought, and just give us a tour. I want to hear it. Like, tell me,
Yeah.
like, did you start with this blank template, or was it just like, all right, let's crank out these spreadsheets? Like, what was the evolution of all this?
it really was just trying to get some sort of like visual representation of where I was and where I wanted to be. And so it started out initially that like I found online this kind of calculation of this is what your expected net worth should be. So I sort of just created in there, okay, this is, at year zero, it was, built by a doctor for doctors saying like, okay, the first year is an attending, etc. Like this is how you should figure out what your net worth should be at. And then I plotted that against what my actual net worth was, which I got basically just from very simply like adding up all my liabilities, which at the beginning were a ton of student loans, credit card debt, exactly, um, uh, stuff like that, and then what my assets were, which were very low in the beginning, and just plotting that out and saying, okay, this is where I should be, this is where I am. I was much worse than where I was supposed to be starting off, mainly because of my student loans, and then every year just coming back and saying, okay, how have we progressed?
So, full disclosure to everyone that's listening today. So, how I interfaced with you, Jordan, initially was I saw that you had posted this on social media, on LinkedIn, I believe. And I
Yep.
saw the spreadsheet and I thought to myself, wow, this person is willing to share his financial journey. This is very private. It's like very, very almost taboo subject. And
Yeah.
people, can always figure out the math backwards where they figure out sort of, well, what sort of medicine do you practice? And that's kind of going to put you within a certain income range. But then what you do with that income, uh, people don't really know that. They just probably estimate based off of what they've seen in the parking lot, who's driving what, maybe,
Yeah.
or whatnot. So the fact that you're willing to be this vulnerable and put it out there, I guess, tell me what made you decide, hey, I want to break that taboo. I want to share my financial journey with my colleagues.
Yeah, it was really experience I went through as at the end of my training, and that's why I started talking about it as well. Was I started
Sure.
a blog where I just kind of shared um, everything I was doing, the mistakes I made, kind of documenting the journey as I went along, because I didn't see anyone doing that, and I had such an epiphany of like once I came up with that very simple financial plan, which has since evolved, but just that simple one. And initially it said, you will get to financial freedom in 30 years. I never even understood the concept of financial freedom before then. But at that time that we came up with the plan, like I was still in training. We still lived in New York City, which was very expensive. So we had little money, high expenses. I still had all my debt, etc. Like nothing tangibly had changed about the situation other than realizing there was a way out. And I truly rediscovered my love of medicine. I still practice full time now. I love what I do. And even though I'm not at financial freedom, just being progress along that path has given me some flexibility and freedoms that I otherwise wouldn't have to really kind of build this life both personally and professionally that I love. And I see too many doctors. Burnout is such a huge thing, and I see too many doctors on a personal level dealing with that, and so wanted to help those that were going through a similar journey or experience to mine. And then a broader goal is I honestly believe like if you just had a magic wand and you took all the doctors in, let's just say the US, but the world, and made them financially free where they could practice because they want to, not because we have to, you could change. Healthcare is obviously a very imperfect system, but we could change it so much for the better. So anyway, that's sort of the why there.
Let me ask you one last question, and then I'll kind of share with everyone what we've done in the
Yeah.
background and the reveal and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, how long does this take to make, and how long does it take to maintain? Like, do you update this weekly, monthly? What is the process here?
To make it takes a little bit of time at first, at least when the truly first time you're doing it, because if you're like me, you're sort of digging everything out and really thinking like, okay, what are all my liabilities? Yeah, I have this loan, I have that loan. I have a mortgage on my house, I have a car loan, I have credit card, whatever. You're really kind of digging everything out and making sure you're not forgetting everything and listing that. And it is initially a painful process if you're not where you want to be, because you have to look and acknowledge, hey, I'm not where I want to be. Um, so it probably took me and my wife like an hour to 2 hours to put together at first. Then it becomes pretty easy. We usually every 6 months or so is when I'll update it. Um, and that's another aspect as we go into the other stuff of more like a day-to-day update, in an automated way. But yeah, we would go every 6 months to a year and just go through everything we had listed there, update it. If we had some new asset, if we got a new rental property, if we invested in a new account or something like that, then we would add that, as well as updating our liabilities. And yeah, that part takes maybe 15 minutes or so. Um, but yeah, and it served as a good benchmark for us of like, in the beginning, it was, hey, this process is working. We see our net worth creeping up, and eventually then you pass zero and you go like, okay, wow, that's a huge milestone. But also like my net worth just reached the net worth of my son, who, is 8 years old. And
Sure.
then you really start seeing it build and that compound interest working for you. And it just feels good.
Well, I think we've put our listeners in suspense for way too long. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share with everyone what the new and improved uh, Jordan from Prudent Plastic Surgeon, Dr. Frey's new net worth calculator will look like. And I think part of it is just taking into account all of the assets that are currently on the books, as well as all the liabilities,
Mhm.
and having that real-time data. And I will say this, that data is always such that you want to get as accurate of an idea as you can, but at the same time, I would say that it's more of making sense of what the data means. What
Right.
exactly are you doing with that data? And we'll get into that later, but as you can see, uh, here's all of the accounts. They're all broken out, all the checking, all the savings. And it's not that strange that couples will have multiple banks. They may not be at the same bank. Maybe they both started with their own bank accounts, and then as they're bringing all their assets together, they may have two or three banks out there and different credit cards. I myself am a big Amazon person, so I definitely have an Amazon credit card floating out there. But I think as you continue to add more accounts, we're going to get a good idea of what you spend, because ultimately, when you talk about financial freedom, I think a lot of the rules of thumb that financial people use for the average layperson go away.
Mhm.
Here's what I mean by that. A lot of the times when they're calculating out, call it the rule of thumb retirement calculators, they're trying to figure out, hey, are you saving enough to cover about 80% of your income? I mean, 80% of what a surgeon makes is not a trivial amount.
Yeah.
And I don't think that even if you were to max out all of your retirement accounts, you would potentially be able to do that
Yeah. No
heavy
way.
lifting. There you go. And definitely thinking about, well, if I'm doing all of this, uh, do I really need 80% of my income? Am I constantly going to be paying down student loans, paying off my mortgages? Am I going to be doing all the things I'm currently doing to build wealth at retirement that I'm doing now? Or am I really just going to be enjoying the fruits of my labor? Am I really going to be spending money on vacations, on food, on being there for my family? And how do we get that information? Well, I can ask you, and you're going to give me a wrong number. I've never had a client who got within, let's just say, $5,000 of about how much they spent, because chances are by the time that they've done it, it's their spending has either gone up or down, or there's
Mhm.
one-offs that they never accounted for, or that they're not quite sure how to measure it. And so, looking at all of this, we want to get real data. So, the fact that you've linked up all of your bank accounts will help us to calculate out, hey, how much do you need to achieve financial freedom? And financial freedom is not, hey, can I afford all these mortgages? Because hopefully, by the time you achieve financial freedom, you won't have a mortgage.
Mhm.
But rather, instead, it's going to be a factor of, hey, am I able to live the life I want to live? And I'm sure that you've read those articles where it's like, hey, I've retired at 40, find out how. And you read the article and it's like, oh, yeah, I saved so much money and now I sold everything. I live in my van by the beach and I work telecommuting for like 2 hours a day.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too. I'm just going to jump in real quick because
Yeah.
I see a lot of doctors too now who will say, "Oh, I'm financially free. I'm retired." And instead, what's happened is a quote unquote side gig, be it real estate investing or consulting or expert witness, has just replaced most or all of their clinical income. And you go, well, you're still working. It might be a different type of work. And I've seen people burn out on that work too. So I think that is an important differentiator that you make, is it's living the life you want to live.
Absolutely. So I think we're going to figure that out. It might not be today. It might not be in a, 1 or 2 episodes from now or whatnot, but we're going to get you pretty accurate on exactly what you need in order to achieve that financial freedom. And we're going to probably benchmark that. But I mean, when you take a look at all of your accounts, what we're going to do is we're going to clean up this data because when you pull in data, one of the things I'm
Mhm.
always suspicious of whenever anyone uses a DIY or some sort of auto compiler, a lot of the
Mhm.
times they pull in as wrong things. For example, they might pull in as a taxable account, but these aren't taxable accounts, they're deferred
Right.
compensation plans. So
Mhm.
we're going to clean up all this data and we're going to show how we do that in real time.
Awesome.
And then, of course, we do have these accounts that have come in as well. And they are accounts that we're finding difficult to link. And so we've done it in real time. The fact that Valak is not pulling in, it could be that it's a Valak account that is under a separate employer base. But the fact of the matter is, we're going to take a look at that for you. Now, here's the thing that we've done for you, and I'm excited about digging into. So we built in all your properties using Zillow data that we're able to pull in real time. And we've built in all of your mortgages individually. And we did that by having you go in and upload your mortgage statements. So that way you didn't have to build them in individually. I built them in for you. And if you wanted to ever have these in real time, you can go to each individual bank and then connect them so you can see the balances going down over time. But for our planning purposes, we're able to do planning as we continue to put in the dates and the times of the payments. And what I think is really interesting is sometimes our clients will give us payment data that isn't really helpful for us in building in the correct uh, information into our system. So we're able to then ask, hey, could you go ahead and give me the more correct mortgage statement? You can go find it, and then we can then build that in real time for you. So we're going to demonstrate that later as well. But I think overall, if you were to go into the spending tab right now, this is something that you can see, you can play around with. I'll teach you how to
Mhm.
do that. Uh, when it comes to the organizer, you can add all of your financial professionals, you can add accounts as necessary, income, we can talk about goal planning, expenses, uh,
Mhm.
but just taking a look at this from from your view, how much time do you think you save just by having this in real time that's constantly updating in the background for you?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of time saved. I can tell you, especially one of the biggest is the real estate stuff, because that's the biggest pain in the butt of like updating the net worth. And to be honest, sometimes I'm like, I'm not even going to bother. Whatever, we'll count as just a wash that over the past 6 months, like the amount I paid down on the mortgages of the investment properties and the amount whatever their market value has gone. Um, so yeah, that the Zillow part is awesome. And I think having the mortgages built in, and we've talked offline about this, but breaking down the payments in terms of principal and interest versus escrow, and obviously as the mortgage goes down, those balances are going to shift and things like that. So seeing how that evolves over time. But yeah, even just having it here and linked up is super nice. It's you just go in and can refresh it and look at it. And then I think, like you said, some of the stuff that I'm most looking forward to or have had the most fun playing with is the analysis portion, which that's what's completely lacking more or less on the spreadsheet side, where I can kind of go, okay, I know 4% rule, and if I withdraw that much and I have my nest egg and I have this passive income, and you sort of try to project things and go, here's what I think my spending will be. um that gets you so far, but this is obviously a lot more sophisticated, and it's been really cool to play around with.
Well, these are just the tools that you have. Let me show you some of the tools I have.
Let's
So,
go.
yeah. So, first of all, when it comes to all the information that we're building here, I think that the first thing is we're able to go in and edit things in the back in real time. All right. So, we're going to go inside here and say, okay, well, this is probably inaccurate. We're going to like all I know is sort of what your payment is. So, let's actually read this together in real time. So, here's how I would think about this mortgage statement. So, your mortgage and interest payments are over here. So that's
Mhm.
735.49 plus 155.58. So let's just say it's about 900. But what we're going to do here is
Mhm.
we're going to take that number and we're going to plug it in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take what your interest rate is and we're going to plug it in here. And then we're going to take your current balance and we're going to put it in here. And here we go. We have essentially everything updated. Now, we're going to go into the mortgage area or the actual building area. And let's see. It is the 1-6.
There it is.
Yep. All right. And here's something that we do. We are able to get that Zestimate. We can refresh that Zestimate and it refreshes in real time. And we're going to go down here and I'm actually going to edit this maintenance expense because as the value of the home changes,
Mhm.
we want to use, a pretty conservative amount for the maintenance. It's anywhere
Mhm.
from 1 to 3%. Just to be conservative, I've gone ahead and used 2%. But obviously, anyone who is watching at home can use 1 or 3, just depending. Hey, if it's a new build, okay, great. If it's, an antique home, maybe 3%, just to be safe.
Mhm.
So I'm able to edit this now all in real time for you.
It's awesome.
Now, one other thing is we're going to go here to the expenses. And as you can see, we want to be pretty accurate with what your escrow is. Fortunately,
Mhm.
from that payment statement, I was able to grab this amount for the escrow. But for all
Mhm.
of your properties, I have gone ahead and made these payments reflect on the actual payments that you're paying for these homes. In addition, that will never go away, because ideally, it would not just not go away, but it's going to increase over time as your property increases in value. The cost to
Value.
insure
Yeah.
it, property taxes, we have it set at inflation. But if you believe that your home is worth more over time, and some of them are accelerating more, we can always customize how much it will compound by.
Very cool.
So a lot of doctors, what they'll tell us is, well, this home is going to 3 times in value over the next few months or over the next few years. And don't get me wrong, I don't doubt that over the years the property value will increase, but a lot of the times they don't account for the increase in escrow. And so I always want to make sure, to be fair, that hey, if you want to project a very heavy rate of return or high rate of return for these individual properties, then we have to go on the other side of the ledger and know that if your value keeps increasing, chances are your insurance and your taxes are going to increase alongside of it, because your home will be assessed for more over time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And to be honest, that's a detail that I was totally missing or not considering.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the times, it makes sense that we want to
Yeah.
uh, take into account the day to day, such as the mortgage payment. And because they bundle it into one payment, it's very easy to say, well, once I'm done with the mortgage, I won't have this, $1,600 payment sitting over my
Mhm.
head. When indeed what ends up happening is you're going to have, let's say, a $2,400 payment at some point, and then at some point it's going to drop down to $1,000, and you're going to go, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
and now you're just paying for it directly.
Yeah.
So one thing that you shared with me offline was you make $1,000 extra payments to one of these mortgages. Which one was it?
To our primary home, the Donegal Manor,
Okay.
second from the bottom. Yeah.
Okay. So what we can do is we are able to, let's see, here we go, add in extra payments.
Nice.
And what we will do is we will essentially have $1,000 per payment. And what that means is over time, this will show it being paid off faster.
Sooner.
And so, what we're hoping for, of course, is that you're going to start seeing that your income is going to free up maybe a little sooner. And what we're going to do here is we're going to save this. And what I want to share is the report with you, because I think it's all well and good for us to hypothetically get to this information. And it's nice that we've cataloged it all.
Yeah.
But I think that you want a certain level of certainty as to
Yes, sir.
where you're at and how real is this. So let's first look at your liabilities. So as you can see, each one of your mortgages are going to finish at different times. And I suspect
Right.
that as you pay off some of these mortgages, you're probably going to accelerate payments and waterfall down until maybe all of these go
Yeah.
away even a little sooner.
Yeah.
But as you can see, the first one that's going to finish up, especially with those extra payments, is your Donegal
I like
Manor.
it.
And that's going to be done in the year 2040. So if you go down here, you'll start seeing when some of these zero out.
I like the idea of I can play with those extra payments too and see how that impacts it. That is very cool.
You got it. You got it.
That's
And
awesome. I love that. And because again, to be honest, this is something where we just said we had in our financial plan. We're like, these are the order we want to do things. We want to max out our 401k, invest in this, da da da, and going down the list. And somewhere on that list was pay extra towards our mortgage. And we kind of just said, well, how much can we pay extra towards it a month? And, do we feel comfortable with? And it was $1,000. No idea the actual impact that had. Knew it would help. Did some random like free online calculators that were like, well, it seems like it'll take a few years off. So we'll do it. But this is obviously a lot more specific. And I think that's awesome. That's fun.
Well, so this is one of many reports that we can generate for you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to share this one with you. And now when you go to your side of the portal, you're able to download this, use this as content. Whenever you say, hey, Enpo, I'd like a good sense of where I'm at, fill in the blank. And we can generate one of these reports, and it's going to go into the spreadsheet.
So cool. That's awesome. As soon as we're done, I'm going to go look at that a little bit deeper.
Well, let's take a look at something else then. So I think one of the other things that we want to be very clear about is, what does your free cash flow look like? And so your free cash flow is very important. And we're going to go into some of this later, but let me show you your other expenses. So as you can see, we want to be very fair with what we think is going to be your cost over time of holding this property. And we're using just a very simple inflation adjustment. It's call it about 2.5, which is based off of the rolling historical, call it about 30-year inflation average. And so as we inflate the cost, by the way, we also match the increase in the net worth value of the properties also on the cost of inflation. But you're going to see that over time on this right column, right now, for all of the escrow that you have, it's sitting at about $61,000. In the year that we originally projected your retirement at 65, it will be almost double at 120.
Okay, interesting.
And by the time you pass away in this hypothetical situation in the year 2077, so you will make it right to cyberpunk.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly.
You will be paying $221,000.
Okay. Wow.
Taxes and insurance, baby, they don't go away.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, that's really interesting.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to generate this report and send it over to you as well. And I'm going to rename it that way. And here's the thing, we can always play around with these assumptions too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Again, that's not necessarily like a factor they always consider. And of course, obviously, with these mortgages will be gone and it's still theoretically cash flowing these properties, but that is a significant increase.
And we're going to call this one all right. So both of these are yours. And what we're also going to do is we're going to look at your free cash flow, because I think a lot of the times we want to get a good understanding of what you have available. Now, my financial coach goes on the principle that if you have any savings at year end, that we spend it. And so you can see that in the future, you're going to have a lot more free cash flow. But for us right now, we may not have a pretty good understanding of your income. And so over the next few episodes, we're going to probably want to get more accurate because there's some very easy things that we're missing here. We're not 100% sure about the income
Hmm.
for both you and your wife. We also have 2024 rental income. We don't have 2026 rental income
Yeah.
available because I took a look at your taxes and I saw that over time, first of all, your taxes are also increasing.
Yeah.
And I think one of the concerns is that whenever you have rental income, if you don't have enough depreciation or losses to offset this income, what's
Hmm.
going to end up happening is you're going to end up getting a 30% discount or 40% discount, or depending on the state you live in. I believe
Yeah.
you live in New
New
York.
York is very high. Yep.
Let's say a 50% discount then.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so now, because this is sitting at the very top of your income, if you end up running out of depreciation and mortgage interest payments, I mean, you're looking at this, 88,000 going down to 44,000.
Yeah. Becoming, yeah. Yeah. That's another important point. Yeah. It's all these, you're totally, I mean, I think it's kind of like we've talked about, or, even the more digging into this, you see, you kind of have, I think of it almost in phases, like I had the phase of the financial journey that was really kind of like, yeah, we just need to build the foundation and we're worrying about the big blocks and stuff. And then you get to this point though, and it is, now where you have to start looking at I don't want to call them smaller things, but almost the maybe more marginal things that can make a bigger difference once you've already established that foundation. So this is, yeah, it's all super, super helpful. And then considering like, hey, what next steps make the most sense, as you're trying to optimize the plan.
Yeah, so I think just looking at the contributions, I'm very thankful that you've put this in as well. It really does show like, hey, we're putting some money into all this stuff, and this is now being categorized. When we're looking at our overall asset protection, I don't have any of your insurance documents, but I'm going to put all
Mhm.
this in and analyze it as well for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're a high profile man, Jordan. You don't want someone to trip in front of one of your homes and go to
Yeah.
town on you. You have malpractice for a reason, I'm sure, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
lots of other things to consider here: life,
Yeah.
disability, all that good stuff. We're going to analyze it for you. That's going to be some future episodes of thinking through things, I'm sure. But I want to show you. I mean, you've got some goals, and we're going to see, hey, is that really the number that you need? So once
Hmm.
you go into your spending, we'll figure out if this is the right number or if we're undercounting.
Yeah.
Uh, and it could be a lot of other things. And we don't know what your current expenses are, but could be less. I mean, let's just go back to the 162. We'll see. We'll see if that's the right number, but we will find out. But I want to leave everyone on a cliffhanger so that way they come back for more and
All right.
future episodes. I want to show what all this is for. I mean,
Let's do
seriously,
it.
what is all this
Yeah.
for? Well, it's to help you answer one very important question with a certain level of certainty. Right now, my level of certainty is probably, I don't know, 30% because we just have so much gaps that we
So
don't.
much. Yeah.
Well, here's what you're projected to die with. Holy moly, $30 million. That's wild. All right, that's funny money. Let's use present value for this. So in today's dollars, you're projected to die with about 8 million.
All right.
Pretty good. Pretty good, huh?
Not bad.
Not bad. Exactly. And let's actually pull back the veil on that a little bit more. What are you going to die with? What are you going to leave behind to your kiddos? And we're going to talk about this in the future because it's very important. Because if your children don't like to play Monopoly in real life, I mean, they're probably not going to necessarily enjoy what you're going to leave them
Yeah.
or appreciate. Uh, and so, looking at the future value, you're going to leave about $41 million worth of stuff. What stuff are you leaving? Well, taxable investments. Looks like you're going to do very well on your taxable
The
investments.
taxable, yeah.
By the way, this is really inaccurate because all of your retirement accounts
Oh,
are
the
sitting in.
retirements are in there. Yes, exactly. Okay, I was going to say too. I was like, all right, very good.
But so,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so you may as well say that this is, it's most of it is probably retirement. Some of
Yeah,
this is going to be that deferred comp.
yeah,
Some of it's going to be Roth IRAs. Some of it's going to be qualified retirement, the ones that we were able to label.
yeah.
You're about to leave an $11 million real estate portfolio for them potentially as well.
Mhm.
So as we continue to get more and more accuracy, we're going to constantly go in and we're going to show you, hey, here's some of the things to consider as you continue to build up your net worth, as you continue to build up your wealth. But I want to show you that the future is uncertain.
Right.
So, in a world of uncertainty, how much certainty do I have? Well, we're going to run the Monte Carlo. And this is saying that you have a 98% chance of maintaining that lifestyle.
All right, good. I'm glad to see that. Again, not something I had before, that level of analysis to say with some certainty. So that's obviously reassuring.
Now, here's the thing. How certain am I that that 98% is accurate? As I said, probably about 30%. We're
Yeah,
hardly done with all the other
yeah,
things that we got to plug in.
yeah.
And how certain we are of your spending,
Right.
all this stuff. But using today's dollars, what does that mean? Your chances are you're going to range between leaving behind anywhere from 7 million to 18 million in today's dollars,
Hmm.
with some variability. I mean, it's possible you could leave negative $1 million all the
Hmm.
way to positive 77 on the fringes.
Yeah.
So all this is saying is you get to make some decisions to improve this outcome or potentially do things to make your life better. Because here's the thing, I'm not necessarily always trying to get my clients to 100%. I mean, it's
Right.
good. It feels good to get to 100%. But what does
Hmm.
that mean? What is the trade-off to getting to 100%? And I'm going to tell you what these numbers actually mean because a lot of people get this number wrong. So we're basing this off of your lifestyle.
Hmm.
And so as you go into retirement or early retirement, you're going to end up with your final high score. Final high score. And in most cases, people are going to start accumulating as they spend down their portfolio,
Hmm.
as they live their life on their terms.
Right.
Now, for some people, they've reached what I call escape velocity, where they literally cannot spend enough of what they've saved and their net worth just continues to grow as they get older and idler.
Okay.
But what is the trade off to that? The trade off to hitting that escape velocity is that this time here, where you really wish you could have taken your kids to Disneyland, where you
Right.
really wish you had, redone your kitchen, you really wish you had fill in the blank.
Yeah.
You gave up on all that. And now you're at escape velocity. And here's the thing, you might still reach escape velocity while still having done all this stuff. And that's what I want to show you.
Okay.
So, what we do here is we're able to show you a what if scenario on all the things that you have
Very
wondered
cool.
about. So, if you want to say, "Hey, Empo, let's do some scenario planning." What would we like to know? Well, there's a few things that we can do for you. We can add some techniques. We can say, hey, what happens if you sell your real estate and you were to buy something else? What if you were to give to that charity? What if you were
Yeah.
to spend a little bit more? And then we can go into the advanced planning side of things where I can show you all sorts of assumption changes. Like, for example, what if taxes go up? What if we decide that inflation is going to go up for a very long time and I just want to increase that inflation in the short term? What does that do to me?
That is very cool too. I mean, because I'm sure everyone's like this. We have tons of that what if, and you're always balancing. Okay, what about now? What if we do this or have this big expense now versus saving more versus, and we try to do a good job of saying, hey, this is our savings rate. Once we hit our savings rate, we're going to spend the rest guilt free. But it's always a game where you go, well, if I just saved a little bit more, how much sooner could I get here or there? And so that's, yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Well, let me show you something interesting. Most people don't really think it through all the way to the end, but whenever I show inflation to someone who isn't retired yet,
Mhm.
I do this because inflation compounds. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to show you that. Okay. Oh, but what does that even look like? Well, initially, what that looks like is you actually grow initially. So think about it. You are inflation. You are medical expense. So medical
Yeah.
expense means more inflation.
Yeah.
Okay, right? Okay. So what happens if you don't save though? Well, now you're starting to spend at a higher level because inflation's
Yeah.
compounding. It's compounding more and more, and you'll see that it
Hmm.
vastly reduces your wealth. So even a little bit of inflation, isn't that wild?
That is. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the most powerful representation of inflation that you can show. Um, wow. Yeah, look at that, 24 million in value lost. Wow.
Because a lot of the things that you have will inflate, and if you think about what your overall expenses are, uh,
Hmm.
if building costs increase, then rebuilding costs increase, which means insurances increase. Your properties will inflate in value. And so now your actual buildings cost more. And so your property assessor comes over and says, hey,
And
that's a nice house you got there.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So it's all these little things. Our clients say, I'm always so concerned about something. And I say, okay, well, how concerned should we be? $24 million concerned or $2 concerned?
hmm,
Or not even like $0 concerned.
yeah, yeah. No, that's how you have to think of it.
So in the next few episodes, what I'd like to do, Jordan, is I'd like to clean up this data
Yeah,
and then we're going to get here. We're going to get here. And I'd love to have your wife on. And I'd
yeah,
love to
absolutely.
show her all this stuff we've built.
Let's do it. No, she'll be super into it too. No, this I'm so much looking forward to these next steps. And to go into this optimization phase and to see this level of granularity is really, really interesting and just going to help us make the best decisions.
Well, here's what I always tell my clients. Look, we can do the research for you. So if you decide, hey, I want to buy rental properties. Okay, well, what rental properties? What blind spots are you missing? Even looking at which one of your rental properties was a good investment, I actually can tell you, sort of just by
Yeah,
ballparking it. The area that I'm most concerned about is escrow.
yeah.
So as if don't get me wrong, if the property value is commensurate with the amount of tax you pay, that kind of makes sense. But
Mhm.
if one of your escrows, let's say, is like $5,000 a year and it's on $100,000 property, and then the other one is a $200,000 property, but the escrow is only, let's say, about 3,500, even though
Mhm.
that mortgage payment may be higher, I'd say go buy that one instead
Get that one. Yeah.
because because over time, as the taxes and the insurance continue to compound, that is a variable and rising cost versus a mortgage is a cost that disappears over time.
It's decrease. Yeah. Awesome.
So
Yeah. That's
we
a great point.
so over time, you're going to give us a lot of things that you and your wife financially want to know, and we're going to peer into our financial crystal ball, or we're going to just help you sit down and logic it through and say, hey, this is probably what you can
Figure
expect.
that out. Awesome. I look forward to it. This is great.